Everyone, and we are back today. I have Steve Wright with me, and we are going to talk about a lot of in-depth gut stuff that you probably haven't heard about. And I can tell you that I saw over 50 different kinds of practitioners, and they didn't have this kind of knowledge. And so I got so excited about some of the things that we're going to talk about because, and you guys, some of you might know this, but I don't think everybody does. I've always had gut issues, and is particularly on the loose stool, like diarrhea side, bloating. But I was really improving my gut. And then last year I had a hydrogen water machine, and I really liked it, but it broke, and I sent it off for repairs. When they sent it back, they had not sanitized it like they were supposed to. So think about it sat for 2 months with water inside it. Think about everything that would have grown in there. So then they sent it back to me. I drank the water for 2 days and I got so sick. So now I have SIBO and SIFO, which is small intestinal fungal overgrowth, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And I was pulling my hair out, and I saw some gut specialists. I was pulling out everything in my toolbox. I was really stuck. But Steve really helped me, Steve Wright, who we're going to talk with today. And one of the things that he had me do was a complete game changer. So my stool, so lifelong loose stool diarrhea, solid stool now, which is amazing for me. I'm absorbing my nutrients. It's huge. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about these things and something called post-biotics. But let me tell you about Steve, and I'm going to bring him on. So Steve Wright is a medical engineer. He is a Kalish Functional Institute graduate, and he's a gut health specialist. And he knows things that a lot of gut people really just don't know, because that's what he does. So he's always into it. So I know we've all spent a lot of money working on our health. Steve spent over $400,000 figuring these things out. And he lives in Boulder, Colorado with his partner, Shay. And he calls himself a snack spurt and a poop spurt, like an expert in those areas. And you guys probably don't know this. Let me bring Steve up. But Steve has also been one of our, hey, Steve.
Hey, Beth.
He's been one of our biggest supporters here. Behind the scenes, he has really helped me get what we're doing here with Mast Cell 360 going, and just really encouraged me, and also given me a lot of tips on some of the difficult spaces we've got in. So I just have a lot of gratitude for Steve for all that he's done to help us get going here. But thank you so much for coming. I know you're super busy, and I'm really excited that you're here to talk with our audience today.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. I'm really excited to do this.
So we're going to talk about, let's start just with SIBO and SIFO. So a lot of people in our audience are dealing with these, particularly because they have mold toxicity. And so when those mold toxins are dumping in the gut, it reduces the ability of the immune system to keep those gut healthy bacteria in balance. And then we get these fungal and bacterial imbalances in our gut. But, can you talk more about what that is, and why are so many people struggling with this?
Yeah, so, SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and then SIFO is small intestinal fungal overgrowth. And most people, SIFO is kind of the new word for, usually for Candida overgrowth. Candida kind of got a bad name there, and maybe it was mislabeled, at least it looks like in the research, as SIBO for a long time by a lot of natural providers or integrative providers. And so essentially either of these terms is describing the wrong microbiome in your small intestine. And so fungal types, Candida included, are pretty normal to be inside of the digestive tract. So are the bacteria that overgrow in SIBO. It's just that when they get to sizable populations, or they get into other parts of the body that they shouldn't be, such as high numbers in the small intestine, they are thought to be the cause of the majority of what we would call IBS at this point. Dr. Mark Pimentel is sort of the world's leading researcher on this topic, and who knows where the statistic will fall, but my guess is probably 60 to 70% of all quote unquote IBS will end up falling into these two categories at the end of another 5 years worth of research.
That makes a lot of sense. And these can also cause constipation. So people can go to either end of the spectrum. I always end up on the diarrhea end, but people can end up on the constipation end. And I see a lot of people with really chronic constipation where they're maybe going to the bathroom every 2 or 3 days, some people once a week, which, can you talk about why that's such a problem?
Yeah. So as with all things in the gut, essentially the same root cause can cause polar ends of a person's experience, like you said. So somebody with SIBO, SIFO could have super constipation. Somebody could have diarrhea, 15 times a day. And so the complexity here is it's wide. And so one of the reasons why either of these things is an issue is essentially our gut is where we're going to get all the nutrients you need to heal. So if that's, you have some sort of metabolic issues, you have some immune system issues, you need these nutrients. And so diarrhea is really bad because you're never really going to get all the nutrients you need out of your food. And you could be eating the most organic, the most allergen-free, everything, like your food bill could be through the roof. And you're just not going to absorb those foods. I've seen it firsthand with, one of my best friends in the world, who I originally started our company with, Jordan. He's since moved on, but he had celiac and he was more diarrhea dominant. I was more constipation, and he could eat almost 1,000 more calories per day than me.
That's what was happening for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And still not gain any weight. Whereas I'm very calorie sensitive. If I overeat a little bit, it goes right to my body, or goes right to my gut, belly fat. And so that's a really big deal on the diarrhea side. And then on the constipation side, look, we detox estrogen, we detox, I think, heavy metals, like almost everything that we detoxify in the gut or in the body, the majority of it goes out through the gut. And there's something called hepatic recirculation, which is essentially if your stools or your toxins are sitting around your colon too long, the colon sites or the gut cells will just kind of keep recirculating things. Like their normal job is to absorb certain nutrients inside of our colon. And if stuff sits there too long, they just kind of just keep reabsorbing it. And so we end up in this situation where constipated people, oftentimes I find actually are harder to break free of their digestive issues. And the number one issue is just getting this system moving at the appropriate speed every single day. Until you break that cycle, I personally, of course, I'm biased into digestive health for the last 11 years, but I don't really know that people are going to make much progress with their mold detox, with their Lyme, with their histamine, with their whatever. You name your root cause. If you're not getting rid of the byproducts of that root cause on a daily basis, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. And all the protocols in the world typically just don't get people well that fast until you at least prop up the digestive tract such that it's working on a daily basis.
I agree with you. So many times where we start is elimination, especially if people have constipation, because you don't want to start increasing liver support so that you're getting more toxins dumped into the gut if they're going to sit there. And we're going to do a Q&A here. So if you guys have gut questions, make sure to pop them in here, because Steve can give you a good angle that I may not have thought of before, and you can get some good info here. So we'll do that Q&A at the end. And I see, so a few other issues with all of this. So Candida can produce gliotoxins, which are quite toxic to the nervous system. And then we get this kind of loop because the nervous system's needed for motility, and then you're kind of shutting that down. And I see Aspergillus and Fusarium colonization in the gut often as well. So there were a number of things I did to fix my gut. And one of the things also is if we have these imbalances, that's going to trigger mast cell activation in the gut. And then you're going to get these mast cell mediators that are inflammatory, and they're going to come through the gut lining, and especially with leaky gut. Then they're going to be in the bloodstream. So another big thing in terms of helping support the gut. So before I met you, I had done all kinds of candida protocols. I had tried different kinds of enzymes, but then you got me to take, and we talked about this back in May, but some people are new, but we talked about your HCl guard, which was your betaine HCl. And that started to make a difference for me. And it got me thinking about how important it is the way supplements are formulated. So that I was taking that with the DGL and the ginger, which helps soothe the mast cells. And then you had me step up my digestive enzymes, which helped also. And I started your holozymes, so that helped. But then we started working, and I had taken all kinds of probiotics, and then I got to where I couldn't tolerate any probiotics. So even Saccharomyces boulardii was causing me gut pain and like a little sprinkle. But then you and I started talking about this concept of post-biotics. And I had thought a lot about prebiotics, but not the post-biotics. Can you tell us more about what that is?
Yeah, so postbiotics is sort of the new term to help people remember a very complex thing that's happening in the colon as well as the lower small intestine. And so postbiotics are essentially short chain fatty acids. You'll see those quite a bit over the coming years. It's pretty much where the majority of gut healing stuff is focused at this moment in the research anyways. And so short chain fatty acids are the byproduct of your microbiome. So prebiotics are fermentable fibers of one type or another. There's all various forms from resistant starch to just like the polysaccharides in, say, broccoli or something like that. Those sort of digestible, meaning that our human body is not going to digest and absorb them. They're really for the microbes. So those pass all the way down, and then our good bacteria are supposed to ferment those. And the byproduct of those ferments are short chain fatty acids. And there are many of them. The main three are acetate, propionate, and butyrate. And butyrate is the sort of the rock star of the three, where all the research is at. And so butyrate has like unmentionable. I can't even like memorize all the research and all the benefits of butyrate at this point. It's so crazy. But it is 60 to 70% of a colon cell's energy needs. And so when the colon cells are using butyrate as they are supposed to be and preferentially should be, they consume a lot of oxygen, making the colon a low oxygen environment and allowing anaerobic bacteria to thrive, which we want. We want the colon to be like low in oxygen and low in pH. These are some of the preconditions for a great microbiome. And so if your butyrate is low, if your short chain fatty acids are sort of screwed up in some way, you're going to have too high of oxygen and too high of pH. And this sets us up for the conditions that we'll go into. But I also think it begins the potential migration of SIBO and SIFO up into the small intestines. It's a theory of mine. That's not proven at all. But I think it makes a lot of sense when we look at how things work. So anyways, postbiotics is a term describing short chain fatty acids, of which butyrate is the most exciting and the one that everyone's talking about and has been researched in animals for the last 30 years and has been researched in humans the last 10 years.
Which I think is where some of us with histamine intolerance and mast cell activation start to get in trouble, because a lot of the high histamine foods like miso and tempeh and kombucha, so these have some of that postbiotic, or they support that activity in the gut. And then with the SIBO, so I found I couldn't eat broccoli, I couldn't eat cauliflower because of this FODMAP foods. So then it becomes this kind of downward spiral of you can't eat the foods that you need to heal your gut, but your gut just keeps getting worse without them. So this is where I think things like butyrate supplements can come in. And that was a game changer for me. So you told me to try butyrate, but not just any butyrate, because I'd actually been taking butyrate for a couple of years. And then we looked at
Well, you were a little skeptical.
Yeah, I was like, I spent hundreds of dollars on butyrate in different forms. And he said, well, let's look at what types that I was taking. So let's talk about the different types of butyrate, because that was a game changer when I got the right type. It was a major game changer.
Yeah, can we just say one thing about sort of that probiotic intolerance and FODMAP intolerance? So
Yeah.
the research is now becoming very clear, and this is something that I have been speaking out against for many years. But I'm pretty anti-FODMAP diet. The long-term research shows that if you keep FODMAPs out for too long, you really do end up altering the gut microbiome in a bad way that takes a long time to recover from. And so remove them for a short period of time, remove whatever you have to get symptom free. But your goal, as soon as you reach that sort of like what I often call a food safe zone, once you find your food safe zone, is to expand that zone as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And the reason why is we really do want our guts to be making it their own short chain fatty acids. And we thought that if we just gave prebiotics, like even special designer ones, not just for instance, inulin or something, that we could achieve more short chain fatty acid production. And what we're finding is that's not necessarily true due to the makeup of the person's microbiome who's getting that sort of input. It's almost like a production line, if you will. If you don't have the right equipment and you just shove more raw material in, you're just going to cause side effects that you don't want.
Gas, bloating.
Yeah, gas.
What was happening with me? Right.
And like if you have diarrhea, you could have more diarrhea. If you're constipation, you get more constipated. It's very frustrating. It's just annoying. And sometimes a similar thing can happen with prebiotics as well. And so that's where the industry and scientists and clinicians have really moved to this postbiotic of what happens if we give supplemental butyrate to heal that underlying issue of microbiome problems, if you will. That's just one of them. But if we start to change that from a supplemental butyrate, and so that's where things have kind of come, and that's why I'm so excited about butyrate supplementation in general. I've never seen anything quite like it. I mean, you're right. With my experience over the last 10 years in my own self, as well as with hundreds and hundreds of people, is that one prebiotic or one probiotic, for instance, like we can name all kinds of brands here, and I can universally like sample clinicians I know who are gut specialists, and they'll say, yeah, 30% of people really respond well to this spore-based one. 30% of people really respond well to this yeast-based one, S. boulardii or whatever. But there's also 30% who don't notice a difference, and 30% who get harmed by it. And that's almost universal. I don't know of any probiotic yet that is like, 70-80% tolerated in a really good way.
Yeah. And especially not in this population, because we're generally so sensitive.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do, of course, with leaky gut. It has to do with the mucus layers, and then, of course, the microbiome. And so butyrate, that's the cool thing about it, is orally taken, at least, it looks like it's going to prove out in the research that it's supporting all of those areas. So again, we have mountains of data on animals, and probably around 10 to 12 studies in humans with oral butyrate. They did try to do it rectally for a long time. And
unpleasant.
Yeah, it's the route of administration does take more time. It's a little bit more messy, of course, and everything else. But the data, you would think, right? If the colon is where most of it's made, if it's where most of it's consumed, then you would think that putting the butyrate in the colon would be the best thing. But right. Studies are pretty split, almost 50-50 about helpful or harmful. And that was really odd for a while. And so now everything's focused on oral butyrate supplementation. And then that's where we come back around to, you had tried it, I had tried it. And how come there's such a variance in oral butyrates and their results?
Yeah. And, when I think about taking it orally versus rectally, one, just keeping up with trying to do that rectally every day doesn't sound easy. but orally, I think when we get more of the GI tract, once it hit the intestines, and then it could benefit more than just in the colon. So I tried a capsule form. I had a straight powder. I tried a liquid form, which tastes nasty. So what are the difference? Because I know you're like the expert on butyrate these days. What are the differences between these different forms?
So there's essentially the type of butyrate, like the actual chemical makeup of that butyrate, and then whether it's a powder or a liquid, and then the delivery type. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with Healthy Gut, is create supplements that are optimized in all of those areas. And so when it came to this class of supplements, there's sodium butyrates, there's magnesium and calcium butyrates. All of these are the butyrate molecule, butyric acid, is bonded to a chemical salt. And so that stabilizes it and allows it to sort of not degrade and be absorbable in the body. Also, it becomes powdered, which is a really big deal, when you're trying to put it in a capsule and things like that. So for the longest time, the majority of the butyrate on the market has been these salt-bonded butyrates. The big downside, one, is smell. They smell terrible unless they're in a really nice enteric delivery, which most of them are not.
It's kind of like rotten cheese and socks left in the gym locker.
Yeah, you can't
like that.
You can't get the smell out of your nose once you smell that kind of smell. It's not good. But there's also decent amount of literature in animals showing that sodium butyrate versus tributyrin, which is just the glyceride butyric acid, just the fat normal butyric acid, that the tributyrin molecules potentially are 20% more effective and less toxic. There's no known toxicity with tributyrin in animals that we're aware of. It does appear that there could be some with sodium butyrate at really high doses, though. And so for the longest time, we've been using sodium butyrate in humans because of tributyrin just being a very hard molecule to work with. It's very unstable. It's very stinky. And so
it's just naturally stinky. Like if you take it out of our guts, it's going to naturally have that smell. It's not like it's a synthetic thing.
No, it's the same smell as rancid butter, which most people haven't smelled. And that's the only place you can find it kind of in your normal diet, would be in some butter in really small quantities. So then companies started to figure out ways to take that liquid tributyrin and sort of realize that that's a better molecule to work with. And so some powdered it. And so they found a different way to essentially bond it to a powder with some caking agents and some fillers to sort of grab the smell, those types of things. Other companies kept it liquid and they put a liposome around it. So they put a fat layer around it. You've heard of probably liposomal curcumin or whatever. It's basically when we encase something in fat. That was probably the best version of it. Pure made that version, sunbutyrate, and that's gotten really good reviews by a lot of clinicians I know. And then I was kind of looking at this and working on this, and I realized that no one had really solved, again, this sort of like capsule version, right? Sunbutyrate is a liquid. You have to drink it. It's not bad. It's compared to everything else. And so tributyrin X is the first one on the market that's liquid in a enteric soft gel. And this is not a standard soft gel. It's like one of the best in the market. It's very expensive, patent pending. And what it allows us to do is keep it 100%, not 100% pure. It tests at 99.9% pure tributyrin. And then the enteric soft gel makes sure that it survives stomach acid. At least the testing so far is no leakage. And what that means also is no smell. And so that was kind of the big breakthrough. Of course, I didn't figure that out. I found some really amazing scientists in Spain who had figured this out and partnered with them. But yeah, that's kind of the lay of the land as far as butyrates go.
I've got it sitting on my desk to take with my lunch here.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with the pure encapsulations, I was never sure about the flavoring, because sometimes those natural flavorings can just be triggers for those of us that are super sensitive, not usually for most people. But that's the other thing I liked about this, is it's really, really clean. And so you've got it in the gel cap. And then if I remember right, so it is gelatin. And then it has the little bit of sorbitol, which is totally safe, and the tributyrin. And then there's a pectin that comes from the gelatin, basically.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all that's in there.
Yep.
So you told me to try this. So I got one of the first bottles I was super excited about. And I started going up slowly. But one of the things people need to know is that you can't, most of the time I tell people to cut soft gels open and start with a drop, but you definitely don't want to do that with this, just because it's naturally going to smell really strong. And some people are asking about the brand name. So my team member, Suze, is going to put a link in for you guys. So Suze, if you can go ahead and put the link in for people, so because they want to take a look at it. And but anyway, so I started with just one capsule, and then, or gel cap. And then I went to 2 the next day. And then I went to 2 in the morning, 1 in the evening. And by the time I got to that on the 3rd day, I had solid stool for the first time since I was a child, so I'm in my 40s. So you think like over 30 years of diarrhea is a long time to have diarrhea. It's a lot of diarrhea, but it's a long time to have diarrhea. So that was what was so impressive to me about this. And then I wanted to try it for, I think I've been taking it for maybe 6 weeks now, before we talked about it in the community, so I could just test it out. I've had some other people testing it, and they're really liking it as well. So I ended up landing at 2 capsules twice a day, because that's just what feels the best in my gut. But I know people have to find their own optimal dose, kind of like with enzymes. So how do you recommend people to do that, especially like if they're on the other end of the spectrum, they have constipation?
Yeah, well, let's first say, like, who should take this? Who should experiment with some form of a butyrate supplement. Now, obviously, I'm biased, and I think our product's the best on the market by a long shot. But you might already have some in your cabinet at home. You might have access to some sun butyrate or something else. That's probably the second best option on the market for sure. And if you have loose stools, if you have diarrhea, 100%. So a lot of the studies in humans are around traveler's diarrhea or unexplained diarrhea, where we don't actually really know. Well, if you were in Best Clinic, or if you were in functional medicine, integrative health, they might actually run some tests on you to figure out you might have a parasite or whatever. But for Western medicine purposes, they don't dig that deep beyond sort of certain things like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's and some of these sort of normal things. So after you go through those tests, your IBS-D or your traveler's diarrhea. And so when you get put in that group, supplementing with butyric acid is a game changer, without a doubt. It's looking like. Anybody in the IBD category, inflammatory bowel of anything, diverticulitis included, is a prime candidate for this. Like, we're talking
people like colitis, IBD being irritable bowel,
inflammatory bowel. So ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, diverticulitis, and all the variants therein. There's lots of different classifications that people are starting to create in there. So any of those people, anyone who's having ridiculous food sensitivities, so that usually indicates a leaky gut, but also indicates a lot of other things that are going wrong if you're reacting to a large amount of the available foods in the world. I mean, you saw it. The people in our customers group of people who are trying and are just sort of blown away that they're able to expand their diet after 2 or 3 weeks on this. So those people, bloating, a breakthrough in bloating that I haven't seen. Holozymes was a huge breakthrough, but this is another breakthrough that I haven't seen. And then I would say constipation is sort of the last category, and we'll talk about why that's a special category, and it makes it a little bit more less of just a universal get your hands on it no matter what type of deal. And the reason why is a lot of what butyrate does is works on motility. And so the quote unquote classical symptom of too much oral butyrate supplementation, no matter the brand, is constipation. You'll essentially slow your gut down to where you start to feel a little sluggish. Your stools get hard, and obviously you're not evacuating every single day. And so this is universal. It doesn't matter the brand, and ours included.
And that's when you get too high, right?
Yep, right.
But if you have loose stools, maybe that's why I'm doing better at the 2 and 2, so 4 a day.
Yeah, the most I've seen so far is someone who's using, or there's several people using 6 a day total. And that's just what got them to perfect poops, no bloating. The range in studies for humans is 300 milligrams to 4,500 milligrams per day has been deemed safe so far. No one's tested beyond that. But the 4,500 milligrams, I believe, was for 12 weeks as well. So it's a pretty solid data to suggest that this is a very safe compound.
Yeah.
That being said, yeah, that's a lot. That being said, you want to use your symptoms and your body as your guide. And so I'm a big proponent that if you're using certain supplements that you can feel, like an HCl, an enzyme, or Tributyrin X, you should go on your feel. Trust your intuition. Your goal is a great poop every day and no digestive upset. And so, for instance, I wanted to see, would the constipation happen for me? And when I got up to 6, I did get constipated. And so my ideal dosage is about 3 per day. And so it seems like most people are between 2 and 4 per day. People who are naturally more constipated, like myself, tend to be at 2 or 3 per day. People who are more diarrhea dominant their whole lives are between 4 and 6 a lot of times.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, and I saw somebody asking what size they are, so I'll hold it up again. So this is mine sitting on right waiting for my lunch, but they're pretty small. They're more like a small vitamin E, but not like fish oil. So they're pretty small. I have little hands too, so that's the other thing to keep in mind. I have like kid size hands, so that's the size.
They're about this. Yeah, they're about the size of like a vitamin D3, 5,000 IU gel cap.
Yeah,
but they're definitely smaller than a dime. They're some of the smallest, easiest to swallow things on the market. That's for sure.
So I found that this is one of the better tolerated in the population that I'm seeing. And you sent me a bunch of research over, and I was really excited to see that there were solid studies on how butyrate reduces mast cell activation in the gut and histamine levels. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that might be why it's calming things down for me more too, because I had so much going on with the SIBO and the SIFO that my mast cells in my gut were really not happy. But I think, there's just a very tiny amount of people who have alpha-gal syndrome. Is super, super rare, so they can't do any animal products that are from mammals. But I haven't seen issues with, and I saw somebody concerned about the sorbitol, but it's a very small amount in there. So I haven't been having trouble with it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to eliminate the sorbitol because I knew it was a FODMAP, and people get, they like 0 or not. They prefer things to have 0 in it. But the sorbitol is what essentially helps keep the shape of the soft gel, and it's a really, really minuscule amount. Like, I'm pretty sure you'd get more sorbitol from one berry than you would from the capsule. And so far, we have had 0 people react to it. Now, we offer a 60-day money-back policy guarantee because I know someone's going to react. Like, I hope it's not you if you're listening right now, Beth, and then many other extremely sensitive individuals who get tachycardia and, say they have POTS. I haven't looked at their medical records, but I don't, distrust them, have been using it safely in the group, and they haven't had any reactions. So far as sensitive people go, this is, I think, at the very well tolerated, even by hypersensitive folks. But I do know that at some point someone's going to react to it, and therefore, I try to have your back and give you your money back at that point.
Well, that's one of the things I really appreciate about you. There's a lot of things I really appreciate about you, but you're extremely diligent and careful about putting these supplements together. I know you've been working on this for months, and I think you started working on this last year, because I think you started telling me a little bit about it at the end of last year. But then you always do that money back guarantee also. And I think the main place where people, I do have people who, they're just, their nervous system's so dysregulated, they can't do baking soda and water. Like they're not able to do anything. So then I don't have them try it. I have them work on the nervous system. But outside of that, if people are tolerating at least 2, 3, or 4 supplements, then I'll usually recommend it these days early on, and seeing some good results there. So anything else that you want to share on butyrate, or do you want to go to the questions?
Well, I do have high hopes for it when it comes to histamine and mast cells. So, I mean, I was sharing that info with you as I was finding it over the past couple months. There are some really interesting studies around basically children with food allergies and or like basically airway allergies of some types, whether it's asthma or something else. And it's looking like potentially butyrate for these types of allergic responses, including asthma, could be another sort of breakthrough. And so I think there's some really, really cool stuff around sleep, around mental capacity, and sort of histamine allergic reactions that I just haven't seen when it comes to probiotics, prebiotics, all the other tools we have for gut health. And so I do hope that, people give it a try. If you don't try our product, try the Sun Butyrate product, because I do think that the future of any gut health healing protocol is going to be built around one of these high-end butyrate supplements, and all of our sort of like gut healing powders that we used to take and we used to make. Like I used to use them with people. I've tried countless of them. I think are going to kind of fall by the wayside, and we're going to get much more targeted with, making sure stomach acid enzymes are working, get the butyrate in there, and then start to rebuild with your prebiotics and your probiotics such that you get a diverse microbiome with a soothed gut and soothed mast cells. And so that's really what I think the future of the next few years looks like for gut health.
Yeah, and that would be a game changer in terms of the order we normally do things in. And I just think I talk about that a lot in terms of addressing mast cell activation in general, and that we have to go in this very specific order. And I think that's where we're falling through the cracks with gut protocols also, is we don't have the order right. And if we can support those short chain fatty acids, then people might have a better chance of getting their prebiotics and their prebiotics and their probiotics on board at that point. So Sandra was asking what your HCl guard is. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that and about the holozymes?
Yeah, sure. So HCl guard is my version of stomach acid support. I believe it's the most holistic version on the market, and I wouldn't have created it, but the supplement companies wouldn't build what I wanted them to build. So it's a standard betaine HCl with pepsin, making sure that's the best pepsin on the market, the strongest. But then I added in intrinsic factor, which is needed for B12 absorption, ginger, organic ginger powder, which has been shown in research to help stimulate peristalsis in the lower stomach, in the atrium of the stomach, and then DGL, which is known to be healing to the mucosal layers and helpful in fighting things like H. pylori, things like that. And so HCl guard is the first stomach support that sort of is both a stomach acid support, but also peristaltic support.
And that intrinsic factor is a game changer for people who have trouble with B12 absorption. So I noticed my cellular levels of B12 going up with that.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of pernicious anemia out there, things like that I just always found it odd. If we know that stomach acid contains mostly HCl with some pepsin and some intrinsic factor, why are we not replacing all three?
Yeah. And it does have a few ingredients, but the ginger and the DGL, both in the research, show really good mast cell calming properties. And not everybody can do those, but if you can, it's a great combo option there.
Yeah, and it's also not vegan or vegetarian due to due to the pepsin, as well as the intrinsic factors. So just FYI there.
Now we've got a ton of questions here. Let
Cool.
me start back at the top and we'll start coming through. So Susan said she's struggling with constipation, never an issue until she started GI detox. I wonder, I don't have any evidence on if butyrate helps modulate that, but I do have people increase any kind of magnesium, particularly magnesium oxide, that they tolerate before they onboard binders. So that might help you, Susan. Do you have any tips for Susan there?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're getting bound up by using a binder, that is exactly what they do. So, I mean, it does seem like you need to add in something else to support there. You could use, like you said, a magnesium oxide, buffered vitamin C. You could try a tributyrin or something else as well. But yeah, anytime you're getting bound up by a binder, you're going to have to Band-Aid it from the other way.
And Susan, my team member Suze can put in the type of vitamin C that's the low histamine version for you. So I'd try those. And then Tracy's saying that, so she did a 4-day water cleanse, 2 days of juicing fennel and celery, and her PMDD and MCAS symptoms stopped. Is there a way to mimic that? That sounds to me like a lot of this is related to the gut and that hepatic circulation you were talking about with the estrogen.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know if that was 2 weeks just on juice or if that was juice and food for those 2 weeks. But number one, I think if you look at the elemental diet research and you look at sort of longer term water fast research, clearly restricting all input to the gut does something to the microbiome, and it does something to the mucosal layers and to the sort of cellular layers that appears to be pretty beneficial for some individuals. And so was it the 4-day water cleanse? Was it the 2 weeks of juicing? I don't know. But I would definitely say that tributyrin would be a great next step. But I don't think we have enough data to really suggest what else should be going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really important for people to, for that woman and for everyone listening, stomach acid regulates your entire digestive tract in so many ways. It literally regulates it speed-wise, but it also regulates partially what grows there by how much it breaks down your food. If your stomach acid is off from the beginning, if you're chewing too fast, your bites of food are too big, all this stuff impacts your microbiome all the way through. And the same thing goes with your enzyme production. And so why I keep saying not everybody has low stomach acid. They don't. But if that is an issue for you, it'll essentially restrict all of your healing until you fix it or support it. The same thing goes with pancreatic or brush border enzymes. You will alter what your microbiome looks like and how you feel based on how digested and how enzymatically broken down the food is. So again, that's why I usually go HCl, holozymes, tributyrin X. Now you can, if you're super sensitive, you're in a bad spot, you can reverse that. That's probably the quote unquote safer way for a very sensitive person would be to reverse that order. But you also do it in a different order. So I would listen to Beth if you have, MCAS issues. But I think people just don't take into consideration the mechanical nature of the gut enough. We're too busy looking at the coolest probiotics or prebiotics or this mold toxin or that mold. All that matters. But if mechanically the system's not working from top to bottom, until we get that working again, it's really hard to make progress.
No, I 100% agree. Always start with the mechanics and can we digest and break down the food? And on the water fasting, I just want to tell people if you're underweight or undernourished or you're really fatigued, then make sure you get help with that. I wouldn't do a 4-day water fast on your own unless you're, in good shape for it and you feel really confident doing it. But so Mary Liz said she started your HCL guard and she said she got it for her hubby and noticed that it helps her too. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. And then Stephanie says she's only been able to tolerate pear, chicken, and cauliflower for a whole year. 5 foods to that prior to that for years. Liver enzymes really high, and 5 to 10 times normal level. Can't tolerate any foods without a reaction. This is unfortunately something that I see quite a bit. And one of the things that I see many times with that is the mold toxicity, that it's just keeping people super, super sensitive. So we start working on that. I hope, Stephanie, you're working with somebody to make sure that because you don't have any protein or fats in there. Make sure you're okay. Do you have any just easy ideas for Stephanie?
I mean, the cool thing about Tributyrin X for her potentially is that there is some new clinical trials that are coming out looking into fatty liver and tributyrin supplementation. It's not conclusive. I can't say that it is going to work for you, but when it comes to liver support and kidney support, supplemental butyrate could be a help there. And then, of course, with leaky gut, people are very aware now that there's these, gut cells that get separated by losing their protein structures or whatever, and that's all great. But what we forget about is that there's a mucosal layer as well. And so anyone who's down to 5 foods, if you can, do things like tributyrin or something else, enzymes, if you're not on an enzyme, try Holozymes, try Pure's enzymes, try somebody's enzymes, because the other thing is you could try to break as much of your food down in the stomach prior to dumping into the small intestine. And if you can, get that really broken down, you might be able to do something. And then the last thing I've found, and this is pretty underrated, I don't actually know what your thoughts are on this, Beth, but I think that more people who are in that woman's situation and more of us who are in a pretty bad situation should be supplementing with branched chain amino acids, as well as a full 20 amino acid profile supplement. So I would agree
if it can be tolerated, because you've got to have protein to build any kind of muscle, to regenerate your cells.
Yeah, so I would try those right away, almost like you were a bodybuilder, and see if start obviously small, but ramp up to 5 to 10 grams a day of amino acids.
And it's a good case for sometimes people do have to take some mast cell stabilizing meds so that they can eat. And I got so dysregulated my gut, I ended up having to do some cromolyn sodium because it was so painful to eat. And that helped settle things down a little bit so then I could get on to my next step. So some ideas there.
Yeah, also look into cortisol, supplemental cortisol. I've seen a lot of people be very helped. If you get to a really bad place, don't write off these prescription helpers. They are lifesavers. And so, low dose replacement cortisol can bring people through terrible gut issues that they probably wouldn't have ever figured out.
Yeah, in the form of hydrocortisone, because prednisone is going to be synthetic, but the hydrocortisone, you can get a prescription for that orally. And there's some books, if your practitioner's not aware of it, there's a book called Low Dose Cortisol.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Okay, so I think we talked about this, that butter is just going to have a really tiny amount of butyrate, but not quite the amounts that we need to change and I was eating probably a couple of tablespoons of ghee a day, but it just wasn't getting my gut back. And then this is Tracy again. So she was taking quite a bit of things and kept degranulating. So I think you might want to go back to basics, Tracy, there, and think about optimizing your elimination, addressing the constipation. Let's go through that order again, because somebody else was asking the order. So you were talking about you start with optimizing your stomach acid, if possible, unless somebody has an ulcer or H. pylori.
Yeah, if you have Barrett's esophagus, if you have an ulcer, HCl GARD, or any HCl for that matter, is not for you. But yeah, my order with everyone, even I'm a little hard-headed, so Beth, you should share your order too. But if you came to me and I was still seeing people, which I'm not anymore, but I would start you with HCl GARD and try to optimize that. We know that probably if 100 of you came to me, 20 to 30% of you would not have low stomach acid. So you try HCl GARD for a couple days. it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be your ticket. That's fine. That means your stomach acid's good. Next, we enter in a really powerful digestive enzyme. I created Holozyme, the most activated enzyme in the market. But if you already have a really high-grade professional product, just double or triple whatever dose you're using. People don't realize that they can really, really up their enzyme dosages. So in cancer, for instance, just so people get a scale, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez he passed away, but he was a doctor who specialized in integrative cancer therapies and high dose pancreatic enzyme usage. They would take 100 to 160 capsules a day. He saw really good results. And so for us to take like 6 with a meal or 8 with a meal, I wouldn't worry too much about that unless you get some sort of side effect, of course. Follow your body's wisdom. But after we optimize that, then I go to the post-biotic. Then we go to Tributyrin X. After that, add in a great prebiotic of some type, and then I think you bring in the probiotic at the end.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. And then if somebody has constipation, I'll have them start usually magnesium oxide pretty early, because that's
right.
A form that's usually well tolerated in this population. You guys, if you're sensitive, make sure you're increasing things slowly. So if you're increasing betaine HCl and you get heartburn or you get diarrhea from it, you're going to back it down. And if you want to increase your enzymes, just go up. You guys know how to go up gradually. Okay, we have so many questions, Steve. I'm going to do my best here. Okay, so I think we talked about this from Mary Liz about all these healthy foods flaring up the gut. We talked about not staying low FODMAP too long. Steve, how do you recommend people get those FODMAP foods back on board? I'm in that process of having like a bite of, I'm actually doing broccolini. So I'll have a few bites of broccolini, but I would do anything for some Brussels sprouts.
Well, I typically like to bring in prebiotics first. So let's get the gut producing more of its own short chain fatty acids through sort of a more controlled process per se. So I love sun fiber. Also, I can never pronounce it, but that larch blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, arabinogalactin.
Exactly what you said. I can't say it.
Free fiber.
Yeah, I think those are great. There's several others. Pretex is a additive in some that has some really good research behind it. But anyways, trying to find a prebiotic that works for you, add that in. I usually start everybody with sun fiber, and then I ask them to start branching out from there.
Yeah, we can't do sun fiber because it's fermented, but the arabinogalactin could work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, as far as the food goes, I always tried to tell people to go measured and slow, like every 3 days. So pick a food and eat it in increasing dosage is for 3 days. So broccolini, have 2 bites today, have 6 bites tomorrow, and then have a half cup or a cup. I don't know how many people what a bite is, but basically I would usually say quarter cup, half cup, full cup. And what people sort of fail when they fail their reintroductions is they go from not eating something to eating 2 cups of it because they've been so deprived, they're so excited. And you got to remember that there's certain microbes that break down these foods in your gut, and they literally need food to grow. They grow and they multiply every a couple hours. And so if you just overload them, you're going to have a reaction. And it might not be that you're intolerant to it inside your body, as far as inside the bloodstream. It could be that your microbiome's just not ready to handle it. And so I always try to get people to remember that you're also feeding bugs. And so gradually allow them to adapt to your new diet. Yeah,
that makes sense. So I've been kind of looking at the different categories of these FODMAPs, and so I'm going to start increasing the broccoli, and then I'll increase a different category.
And there is some cool new research on sort of like phenol related and salicylate related issues, and xylanase as an enzyme. So there are some high dose xylanase enzymes out there. And you might need to add those in along with your DAO to speed up that diet reintroduction potentially.
Oh, that's a good point. And I've got one that's usually real tolerated. If anybody's looking for that, we can drop that in as well for you guys after we get off here. So I know that yours has gelatin. Shabbat was asking for religious reasons. Is there a gelatin-free version? So I think that would be the pure encapsulations.
Right.
And it does have those flavors. So just keep that in mind if you're sensitive to flavors. But
yeah, no one on the earth has perfected a vegetarian-friendly gel capsule that actually works. So I tried. I really did try.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Natasha wants to know, can you take it when you're breastfeeding? Look at her little baby there.
I'm not your doctor. I'm not going to make that call for you. You're going to have to talk with your provider. I think it's worth noting that your body does make it naturally, but it definitely could pass on through to your baby. So,
okay. So yeah, just run that by your doctor there. Okay. And then Sandra was asking, how does it help when you're constipated? So I think you talked about motility.
Yeah. So it, well, tributylin in the gut is going to be doing a few things. Number one, it's going to be supporting your mucosal layer healing. So it boosts what's called MUC2. And so I think the mucosal layers are really underrated. If those are disrupted, that's related to constipation and diarrhea. So getting your mucus layers rebuilt, it's going to help
things move through, right?
Right.
About that being a slippery layer there.
Correct. So it's going to rebuild your slippery layer. It's also butyrate is anti-fungal basically. So in studies, it actually kills candida. So if your constipation is caused by SIFO, there's a chance that it could be antimicrobial in that nature. There is some antibacterial activity as well. So if your constipation's root cause is SIBO SIFO, it's going to help with that. Also, what it's going to be doing is it's going to be modulating your gut microbiome. So part of constipation is the wrong bugs, the wrong mixture of bugs. And so taking supplemental butyrate is been so far shown to increase the diversity of your microbiome, which will then hopefully help relieve your constipation.
Great. So it's kind of a modulating thing. It's going to work on both ends of the scale.
Right. If someone said I have to poop tomorrow, otherwise I'm going to explode, tributylin's not your go-to. It's part of the healing root cause package that gets rid of constipation, but it's not like a magnesium oxide or a vitamin C or something like that.
Gotcha. So it'd be part of that package. So Nee had a good question. Is this something you take for a short term and feel better and then come off, or once you start, you take it forever? And you were telling me about this cumulative effect with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, no one really knows, but I'm not an advocate for staying on anything forever, unless you've already tried to come off it multiple times and your life is just better when you're on it. So it does appear that with these butyrate that people are probably going to be on it for like 6 to 12 months, but it also depends on how banged up are you. If you've been like Beth and haven't had a solid poop for 40 years, staying on tributylin for a couple of years is probably a pretty solid option. If this is kind of your first foray into gut healing, you're not really all that banged up, you might only need like 3 to 6 months, and you might be just remember the order. So the way to get off tributylin long-term is to rebuild the gut microbiome diversity and then rebuild your diet so you can tolerate a lot of fiber. So that's how you get off of it. Until you can tolerate a bunch of foods and until you can eat fiber, you might be on it basically.
And eat some of those higher histamine foods, which is our goal too. We don't want to be super low histamine forever. So if you can get to where you can eat some of those cultured foods, then that can help also. Okay, so Annalisa was asking, I know we talked about this some, but if you can just clarify around this, if people have slow motility and gastroparesis, which if people don't know what that is, it's where your stomach empties slowly. Do you think the butyrate can help with that? Or is it at least indicated when that's going on?
So far, I haven't seen it not indicated. But again, that would not be my first go-to for someone who's slow motility and gastroparesis. I would start right away with HCl guard or holozymes. In fact, we do have some people who don't use HCl guard, but they use a lot of holozymes because they have gastroparesis. They're basically trying to pre-digest all their food, every meal in their gut. I mean, in their stomach. So I don't think it's not indicated. Again, it's one of these things where it helps so much of your body, including stabilizing the mast cells and basically the microbiome, the mucosal layers, the leaky gut. If you try it, it doesn't work, just email us and we'll give you your money back. Like, I mean.
Yeah, you guys have been great with that. And Sandra even was appreciative that you do a guarantee. And Mary Liz shared something interesting. So she said she's been having less postprandial tachycardia. So that means where your heart races or you get strange heartbeats after eating. So she apparently has been doing her Tributyrin X already. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Mary.
And then Sandra was saying it doesn't have any corn. It's no GMO. It's gluten-free too.
Gluten-free, dairy-free, no corn, no GMO.
Okay. And then Anna's saying, if it reduces histamine in the gut, would you take it before eating? I've been taking it after I'm eating, but what's the optimal time to take it?
You know, I've been asking around about this, including some researchers, and it just seems with food. I'm not clear that I've even taken it while fasting or away from food just to experiment on myself and see if I could notice anything, and I couldn't. So at this point in time, I don't know that there's an ideal timing versus, something like an HCl or an enzyme is typically best taken right before you start eating.
I might experiment with that and try taking it 30 minutes before eating and see if I notice anything.
Yeah, it could reduce histamine release.
Okay, so I think we talked about this some, but people who should not try the butyrate would be that super rare condition. I talked about the alpha-gal that can very rarely occur if somebody has Lyme, or if somebody's so sensitive that they can't even do baking soda and water, or they can't take anything at all. Do you have any other contraindications?
We talked about pregnancy, breastfeeding. Check with your integrative physician, get the okay there. I'm not aware of a contraindication there, but I'm also not aware that's been tested. Our product is not, as we've covered, not vegan or vegetarian, but I do believe sun butyrate is. But I can't think of anything else. I mean, remember, we're at the forefront of medicine here. So that's why we'll offer the refund, is because I know that this is going to work really well for a lot of people, but there are some people it's not going to work for a variety of reasons, including things that we can't account for, that maybe even at the somatic level or the spiritual level. And so when it comes to products like this that I think are game changers, I would just try it, whatever brand you feel comfortable with.
Okay, and then Elise, anything about safety for young children?
Yeah, Elise. So I think that obviously in this product, they need to be able to swallow a soft gel. So there's some swallowing stuff there. Otherwise, sun butyrate. Working with an integrative doctor on this would be helpful, but I'm not aware of any contraindication for children as well. There could be a dose and weight issue, and so you might want to stay at smaller dosage. Beth, are you aware of anything there?
I don't. Yeah, I just other than that, I do work with young children, and they might only do one capsule, maybe 2 total a day. But since they're making it naturally in their gut, the lower amounts, from everything that I know, should be safe. Okay, see, we have probably 30 more questions. Let me hit on some of the top ones here. And then if there are questions that I'm not sure how to answer, is it okay if I send them over to you so we can make sure to get back to people?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Patty's asking, this is an easy one about salicylates. This is definitely salicylate free, so you shouldn't have any trouble. There are no herbs in there. And then, so Jennifer's really new to all of this that we're talking about. Any side effects other than too high, you could get constipation. If you're, so if you're constipation, don't go up to 6 or 8 a day.
No, constipation's the only other thing is that people are getting a lot of energy. So some super sensitive people have been shifting their dosage to the morning because they're having racing mind. My belief is they're just having so much energy now that they have to learn to calm their mind back down when they go to bed. But that's the only thing that's been reported out of around 1,000 people that we've helped so far.
And I have a super sensitive nervous system. I haven't noticed that. But okay, and then we'll do this as our last one. Nee said, is it safe to take with probiotics? She's taking Megaspore. Should she space them out at all?
No, I think you can totally take them together. Megaspore's, a great spore biotic. Again, there's no contraindications that I'm aware of taking this with anything. It does, in the literature, it does improve the outcomes of certain pharmaceuticals. So that it's being studied in cancer treatments as well as with, I always mispronounce this too, mesalamine. It's a drug used usually for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. I think mostly just UC. So it does appear to improve the outcomes of certain pharmaceuticals. So taking it with whatever you're doing might increase whatever you're doing. But
okay, so
no
maybe something to pay attention and go up slow.
Yeah,
if you're taking medications. Okay, well, we're going to get back to the rest of these comments. We'll get back to today and in the next couple of days. So we'll definitely get back to you guys. Anything that I'm not sure about, I'll send over to Steve, and then we'll get back to you there. I want to really thank you, Steve, for taking time out. I know you're super busy, and this has just been incredibly helpful for our community. So thank you again. And Steve gave us $10 off, which is really appreciate because he knows that this is expensive. It's only good until Friday, you guys. So if you want to try it, use that coupon before Friday. He can't leave it long term because coupon codes go viral, and I think you have a limited stock. So
yeah, we only have about 300 bottles left at this point. So
okay.
The next, we'll get a bunch more in December, but for now, this sold way faster than I thought it would. So
I just got 6 extra in, so it'll hold me through. But good to be with you guys. I'm so happy you're here. We'll talk next week. We're going to do lots of Q&A on foods. Thank you again, Steve, for being here, and hope you guys have a great week.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Beth.